Here we go, an extra special interwar plane. Horrifically, it's a biplane again, and I'm not going to worry about the cables between the wings. Extra special because there's some brilliant footage of rows of these, all lined up and being inspected, and they look fantastic, and they have that marvellous 1930s kind of art nouveau, art deco kind of style almost. And I've always wanted to get my hands on one of these. So here we are, Heinkel He.51A-1 by ICM. Don't know them. So it's good. It's good to have a new company to be dealing with. Very interesting box arrangement. Hello. Oop. And here it is. Not a lot there, but that's what little old planes kind of boil down to. So let's pop it out of the shiny polythene and have a good look and get a base colour on. That's the majority. That's the majority of it painted, at least in a base colour, a kind of off-white, almost cream with a hint of green, I suppose. There, I'm going to give it the red nose and a fairly straightforward square one. I think that's the kind of thing I've seen in those nice bits of footage. Although admittedly it's black and white, but what am I on about now? I don't know, I've lost it. So I'll go and glue some things together. And there's the little fuselage put together. No fixing pins, ridges, ribs or anything. This seems to be a more modern approach, but at least things lined up okay. So a bit of glue and a bit of holding firm for a couple of moments. Now we come to the question of detail and small parts. I used to be a fan of detail and small parts when I was young. I am now an aged model maker and they fill me with dread. The thing is, I put this model down for months because I'd got to this point, the point where I'm putting the exhaust pipes on. Thankfully I've just put them on with a little bit of glue and I can move them around. They are still malleable because I've got to line them up so that that bit fits over them. That bit's sideways on. I've just sprayed it black along with 1,000 other pieces from various models. So that sits over there. The thing is, I mean, personally I blame Heinkel. What kind of design is that? Just have one big exhaust or something. I blame the model makers. Who are they? Who are they? ICM. Yeah, no sympathy for the aged model maker with creaky eyes and shaky hands. So this put me off for ages. Anyway, I've come back to it. Like I say, soft glue. And I mean, those tiny little bits, those absolutely microscopic pieces just don't thrill me anymore. I know everybody's different and there are people out there who like tiny bits. As I say, everybody's different, but in the long run I'm right, and my lovely wife would agree, wouldn't you? The silence is due to the fact that she's not here, and that's, you know, therefore I can say that kind of thing. But there we go. Small bits. That's why models grind to a halt in my world. Sorry about that, detail lovers. Maybe we can specialise in that, what's that communist phrase? Specialisation of labour or something. Yeah. In the end, I came to the conclusion that that weird piece that went across there is just a former to line up, that's the bad side, to line up those exhaust pipes, because I can't see it on photographs, and in fact it doesn't appear to be on there either. So I pulled it off after I'd glued it on and made a right mess. So let's talk about wings. How am I going to glue a wing onto there? What on earth were they thinking? There's an interesting little thing happens here. These are the legs for the wheels. They're sort of upside down at the moment. That's so they match the diagram in the instructions. And you can probably see that it says cut the bit between these two main pieces, 2mm distance. And as you can see, there's like 3 rods there. So one I've done, the other I haven't. Woo! 3 rods. So that must be suspension, which means it's kind of designed for flight, but you cut them off. The model, the part, is designed as if the aircraft is in flight. Let's be clear about that, shall we? And if you want it kind of grounded, then you cut them off and do that. So it would have been easier for me to put a pilot in and have it flying, whereas I make the decision to have it grounded and didn't notice that. That's me, innit? Okay, so apart from the rather nasty exhaust pipes, it's coming along okay. And there we have the wheels on. And I think that's alright, the angles seem to be correct. I've got a slightly wonky, the wheel on the far side needs a bit of adjusting, look at that. It's something of an angle, could be worse. So I need to do that, then put the upper wing on, and then I think it's then it's time for the markings. Yeah, it's okay, all's going well ish. Look, I've just spotted, I don't know if this will even, can you see 2 microscopic holes for the struts, and just about the same on the other side. I think they're the only fixing holes I've seen, so remarkable. Well, what do you make of that? Look, big bag, tiny little windscreen, and it don't think it's actual straightforward plastic. It seems to be almost like cellophane or cellulose. So that means I'll have to cut it out. Uh-oh. I'm struggling to get the top wing to obey, and I'm just checking this to see where all the different struts are. Those in particular are part of the problem because of where they sit. You can see they sit on the colour area. So I've done that. There not being many holes. There are a few holes in the underside of the top wing, but it's wanting to twist, and because it's got its own weight, because it's quite a thick piece of plastic, that weight is governing where it sits. So naturally I've had to deploy the 3 wise monkeys. There they are. So that one is pushing the top wing in the right direction, and this one is giving stability to the whole of the airplane. And I've had to move it out of harm's way. I've left it here for about 4 hours because we're near the cruddy old TV, which, by the way, if the screen goes blank for any length of time, it switches itself off. Brilliant. That's why it's ended up in this room. Spent money on that. What make is it? Panasonic. Ooh, see, good question there. Interestingly, in this marvellous little book, there we go, Fighters Between the Wars, they have a version of this one, and very interesting, the markings. There is in fact a roundel without one of those Dreaded symbols. And there's another. And I know some media outlets are not keen on using that symbol anymore, even though it's a historical item. Rewriting history is the most important thing. So there we are. We can have empty roundels, but then again we can have full ones. So very interesting. Meanwhile, there is the model, and I've got a little tripod on, so I could. Tripod is off, and we're at ground level, sort of. So let's have a look. The other thing that I noticed is in some images of this aircraft, there's a kind of brass. What would it be? Bronze. Thing, which is what is a thing? The ring around the propeller, kind of cone, and it runs out onto the propeller itself. And I've done it like that, but then I found more images without than with. So maybe I've done the wrong thing there. Anyway, there's our little aircraft. Interestingly pliable plastic, which didn't help with getting the top wing sturdy, because definitely the struts wanted to twist, and I don't feel it's 100% straight line with the fuselage. Mind you, a really good interwar aircraft. It wasn't used for long, but it was used in the Spanish Civil War, which is always an interesting recommendation, I suppose you could call it. But in the end, it kind of got beaten by a couple of Russian aircraft. I've just noticed I haven't painted the air intake underneath. That didn't make much sense, did it? I haven't painted the interior of the air intake, and I keep forgetting to do that. Every time I make any move on this one, I say to myself, must do the air intake, so I better go away, do that, and we'll get one last shot. And so there we are with, I think, everything done on this one. I did have a biplane fly past fairly low recently, and I noticed you couldn't really see the wires, tensioning the wings and things, so I feel a little bit more comfortable with that. But there we are, done. A nice model. Could have done with some sort of fixing points here and there apart from the struts, and came out okay. So probably good company. I may have to see what else they do. So thanks for looking. See you again soon. Thanks for looking. Thanks for watching.